Do you trust your wife?
Well, do you? It's possible for you to retire for life on Do You Trust Your Wife?
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, a husband, by knowing whether to trust his wife, can possibly retire for life. Yes, our trust fund question pays $100 a week every week for an entire year. And the trust fund winner may return and keep winning an additional year's income until he is defeated. Returning to compete with tonight's winning couple to try for $100 a week for a fifth year, our construction company technician Eric Good and his wife Helena. Now, here is the star of our show, Edgar Bergen with Mortimer Snurd. Edgar from Fallbrook, California, here is Bert Wetzel and his wife Marjorie.
Welcome to our show, Bert and Marjorie. We're very happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
And where do you two make your home?
Here in Southern California, we own a chicken farm.
Well, we'll shake hands. I'm foul-minded, too. Yeah, all right. Well, where is your farm, Bert?
It's a little south of Fallbrook.
And where is that?
Well, that's between Los Angeles and San Diego.
Tell me, Bert, is it a large farm that you have?
Well, it's not large as poultry farms go. There's only 1,500 layers and 1,000 fryers and replacements.
I see. Well, I'd say you're pretty well stocked. Well, she's got a nice figure, too. No. Are there some new scientific methods for increasing egg production?
Well, they aren't exactly new, but the feed manufacturers are doing a very good job in increasing production through the antibiotics and other additives to the feed. The breeders are doing a fine job, and the poultry men themselves are doing, well, they keep the hens happy, and in the wintertime they turn on the lights, and the lights stimulate the pituitary gland of the chicken.
Well, I'll tell you why that is. You see, they wake up, the light goes on, they think it's morning, and then they get outside and it's dark, and they say, oh, what the heck, there's nothing else to do, we'll lay an egg. I see. I see. Do you use this method? No, I sing to them. Oh, you sing to them? Yeah, like he says, you got to keep them happy. I see. Yeah, when they hear me sing, they drop everything.
Yeah. Marjorie, what's the role of the farmer's wife in this business?
Well, the farmer's wife raises the farmer's children, and we have 4. And they're a lot of help collecting eggs and cleaning and grading eggs. You grade them into 4 sizes.
4 sizes.
Extra large, large, medium, and small.
I see. Well, we just got 3 on our farm. I see. We got small, and we got medium, and then we got it only hurts for a little while. I see. On the card, yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Wetzel, you can win up to $1,200 in cash tonight on your way to our trust fund question. Your first correct answer is worth $100. Your second, $200, and your third, $300. And Edgar, here are the Wetzel's questions.
Will you both go to the board, please? Bert, we want to see how much you know about your wife. Bert, what do you believe is your wife's favorite sport in which she participated in high school? And Marjorie, what was that favorite high school sport in which you participated?
He wrote swimming, and she wrote swimming. You now have $100. Your next correct answer will be worth $200.
The subject of your second question is food. Do you trust your wife?
I do.
One of the following is not a soup. Which is it? Gumbo, vichyssoise, Charlotte Russe, mulligatawny.
Mulligatawny is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Charlotte Russe.
Edgar, the Wetzels missed their second question, but they still have the $100 they won on their first question. So your next correct answer will still be worth $200.
The subject of your third question is American history. Now, do you trust your wife?
I'll trust my wife.
In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson sent James Monroe to France to assist in the acquisition of a huge area of land on this continent. By what name is this transaction known? 1803, Thomas Jefferson sent James Monroe to France. Acquisition of a huge area of land on this continent. By what name is this transaction known? I'm sorry. It's the Louisiana Purchase.
Edgar, Mr. and Mrs. Wetzel have won $100. You may now risk it on our board question.
Very well. Do you trust yourself or do you trust your wife?
I trust my wife.
In the well-known nursery rhyme, what is the name of the man who could eat no fat?
Jack Pratt.
Jack Pratt is right.
And the Wetzels have a total of $200. And now, here is Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy. Now we have a very interesting couple to meet. They come from Sweden by way of North Hollywood. And here they are, Leonard and Ingrid Claremont.
Well, we're very happy to meet you, Ingrid and Leonard. Yeah, you're both Swedish, is that right?
Yes, we are.
My goodness, yes. Well, då, jag pratar lite Chicago-svenska. Kan vi tala svenska nu då?
Ja, vi pratar bara svenska hemma.
Ja,
Det är enda språk som man förstår riktigt egentligen.
Ja, men lilla gussen kan inte förstå vad ni säger. What was that? Well, what did you make me say? Oh. You were supposed to say that. All right. Well, Leonard, what sort of work do you do?
Both Inger and I are correspondents with Swedish magazines and newspapers.
Oh, I see.
In fact, we've written an awful lot about you, Mr. Bergen. You're very popular in Sweden.
Well, oh, so that's where he's popular. All right. Ingrid, how did you meet Leonard?
Well, I came over here to meet Americans, but it seemed like everybody was introducing me to Swedes.
I see, yes.
And since we were both journalists and Swedes, some friends brought us together.
Uh-huh. Well, did you hit it off right away, Leonard?
Well, she kind of hit me where it hurt. You see, I'm a little older than Ingrid.
I see.
She told me that she had heard about me through the Swedish papers since she was a little girl over there.
Yeah.
She even had a picture in one of her clipping books.
Uh-huh.
Picture of myself standing next to Shirley Temple when she was just a little girl.
Oh, next to Shirley Temple?
Yeah.
You should see the one I got of Bergen. Yeah. He's birthing little Grandma Moses. All right. How did you finally fall in love, Ingrid, you two?
Well, we went to interviews and to press previews together, and finally I found him a very fascinating man.
Well, of course. Fascinating in what way?
Well, Mr. Bergen, he'd done an awful lot of things. He's a world traveler, he's very adventurous, and he's a real vagabond, I think.
In other words, he's a real Viking. Yeah, over here we call them bums. No. Well, now, Leonard, what are some of these things that you've done?
Well, I've tried a little bit of everything. I've been a private detective, sign painter. I've been selling fly paper, repairing phonographs, and even tried my hand at bullfighting one time. I wanted to be the first Swedish bullfighter.
Uh-huh. Swedish bull, I've been fighting all my life. Yeah. Well, Ingrid, have you got him to settle down now since you're married?
No, I'm afraid not. He is also a professional cameraman, and he just came back from Tahiti.
Tahiti?
Uh-huh.
Well, now, tell me, Lenny boy, now he's getting interesting, yeah. Tell me, do the girls still over there in Tahiti, do they run around, what I mean is, don't they wear, let me put it another way. Well, you can't put it another way. Well, why didn't you stop me, Bergen? All right. You saw me getting into it. Well, you see, I'm a little curious, too. You old dog, you. Well, I, of course, was referring to the natural beauty of the place. There's that Swedish bull I was telling you about. Is Tahiti as beautiful as the travel folders say?
Yes, it certainly is. We have a little piece of land down there, and we're hoping someday we might settle down, build a little house down there.
Yeah, I know just what you mean. I've always wanted to settle in a place like Tahiti where no one has ever heard of me. That's true. You don't have to move a darn inch. All right. Now it's time to play Do You Trust Your Wife? And say good night, Charlie. Yeah, good night. Nu ska jag gå hem och lägga mig. You made me do it again, did you? Yeah. Good night.
Mr. and Mrs. Claremont, you can win up to $1,200 in cash tonight on your way to our trust fund question. Your first correct answer is worth $100. Edgar, here are the Claremont's questions.
Will you both go to the board? Leonard, we want to see what you know about your wife. Leonard, does your wife squeeze toothpaste from the bottom or the top of the tube? Write either bottom or top. And Ingrid, you write either bottom or top.
He wrote top, and she wrote bottom. You missed your first question, so your next correct answer will be worth $100.
Well, that shows he doesn't notice the little things. The subject of your second question is food. Do you trust your wife?
Not just my wife.
One of the following is not a cheese. Which is it? Basil, cheddar, camembert, or gorgonzola?
Gorgonzola.
It was basil as a seasoning. Basil.
Edgar,
It's an herb.
the Claremonts are still looking for their first correct answer, which will be worth $100.
The subject of your third question is American history. Do you trust your wife?
I'll trust myself this time.
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, and Madison were the first 4 presidents of the United States. Who was the 5th? I'm sorry, the time is up. It's President Monroe.
Well, Edgar, it seems that the Claremonts had a little difficulty getting that first $100. Do you have another question you could ask him?
Well, now, yes. From what state, for $100, from what state do we get Washington State potatoes?
Oh. Washington.
Yeah, you better say it. All right.
And the Claremonts have a total of $100. And here again is Edgar Bergen with Effie Clinker. Edgar, here from Pomona, California, is an English teacher and his wife, Bob and Jerry Miller.
Bob and Jerry, yes. Well, now, we're really glad to have you with us tonight. And just so that Effie can pick up a few tips, how did you two meet?
Well, we were going to Occidental College at the time, and Bob came over to the sorority house to take out a girlfriend of mine.
I see.
But she wasn't there, and I was. So he invited me to go with him to a drive-in movie.
And she accepted, didn't she, Bob?
Oh, yes, she did, but she was a little surprised, I think. We walked out there to the street, and I pointed to my motor scooter.
Poor kids, you really had to watch the pictures, didn't you?
Well, Bob, didn't this scooter cramp your style a little bit?
Well, it did a little bit, but I was going to college on the GI Bill of Rights Act, and I didn't have too much money to toss around, and I had an idea that I wanted a girl to love me for myself rather than for what I had. So...
I will.
No. Well, Jerry, did Bob make much of an impression on you that night?
Well, no, but the motor scooter sure did.
Bob, did you conduct your entire courtship on a motor scooter?
Well, no, after we'd been going together for a couple of weeks, and I got a motorcycle.
Now that you're married, are you still riding a motorcycle, Bob?
No, with 3 children and being a school teacher, I finally broke down and bought a car. I'm able to afford one now because besides my job as a school teacher, my wife and I collaborate in writing stories for magazines.
Oh, I see. You both write, huh? Well, what magazines would a school teacher write for? National Geographic? Or, what, literature? Something?
Well, no, we write for the confession magazines.
Confession?
Yippee!
All right.
I'll lend you my diary.
All right.
Oh, it's hot stuff in there.
Yeah. Effie, if they printed your diary, you might lose your reputation.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I've been trying to lose it for years.
Yeah.
Takes 2, you know.
Yes, I know. Jerry, what are...
Hush up now.
All right.
None of us are perfect.
All right. Jerry, what are some of your stories about?
Well, some of the titles might give you an idea. There's Weekend Wife, and I Was a Gang Girl,
Yeah.
and I Flirted with Danger, and I Wound Up an Old Maid.
Oh, that must be a good story. You have no idea how wound up we old maids can get. I got a couple of doozies for you.
Yeah.
How's this their title? Love Thy Neighbor, if the coast is clear.
No.
How about this one? Romance Among the Boll Weevils, or I'm a cotton-picking lover.
Well, now, Jerry, have you ever tried to branch out, in your literary work?
Well, yes, we've written a lot of self-help articles for teenagers, and we've written some serious short stories. In fact, one of our short stories is being printed in a literature book for high school students.
Oh, I see. And by the way, Bob, where do you teach?
Well, I teach English in Boys Republic High School. It's in Chino, California. It's a school where boys who perhaps are from an unsettled family home or maybe who've got into a little bit of trouble, they feel that going out there with our program, which we have a resident program, and also we have, besides an academic program, shops, and we have a dairy program. Sometimes a boy who perhaps might not do too well academically might find himself out there.
I see. Oh, well, of course, I've heard of the wonderful work done by the Boys Republic. Say, are they still making those beautiful Christmas wreaths every year?
Oh, they're busier now working than they have been in the last several years. Right now, they are busy tying on the brightly colored fruits and spraying them with silver and gold paint and shipping them all over the United States to the many people who have ordered the wreaths.
Yes, well, I know my wife and I have been buying them for the last 5 or 6 years as gifts. So put us down for another half a dozen this year, then. Well, now it's time to play Do You Trust Your Wife? Effie, say good night to the Millers.
Yeah, good night, kids, and I hope you sell a lot of those wreaths. Don't forget, folks, the address is Boys Republic, California. Oh, you dear boy.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, you can win up to $1,200 in cash tonight on your way to our trust fund question. Your first correct answer is worth $100. Edgar, here are the Miller's questions.
Thank you. Will you both go to the board? Bob, we want to find out how much you know about your wife. Bob, it seems reasonable to expect every wife to have a pet peeve about her husband. What do you believe is your wife's pet peeve about you? And Jerry, you write what your pet peeve actually is.
He wrote motorcycles, and she wrote none. You missed the first question, but your next correct answer will be worth $100.
I think I'd pay $100 if my wife would write that down about me. The subject of your second question is food. Do you trust your wife?
I trust my wife.
One of the following is not a fish. Which is it? Fin and Hattie, pompano, filet of sole, or shashlik?
Shashlik?
Shashlik is right.
You now have $100. Your next correct answer will be worth $200.
The subject of your third question is American history. Do you trust your wife?
I trust my wife.
From what country did the United States acquire Alaska?
From Russia.
That is right. Russia is right.
Edgar, Mr. and Mrs. Miller have won $300. They may now risk all of it, none of it, or part of it on our board question. But if you lose, what you risk will be deducted from what you already have won. And remember, tonight's top winner competes with our winner from last week for our trust fund question of $100 a week every week for an entire year.
And remember, the more the question is worth, the harder it is. Now, do you wish to select a category?
We'll try the $200 question.
All right. And do you trust yourself or do you trust your wife?
I'll trust my wife.
What is the famous inventor who perfected the vacuum tube which made radio and television possible? Boom. Well, your time is up. It was Dr. Lee DeForest.
And the Millers have a total of $100. And now it's time for our trust fund question. We will place in trust with the world's largest bank, the Bank of America in California, a trust fund which will pay tonight's winning couple $100 a week for an entire year. Back tonight to try for $100 a week for a fifth year, our construction company technician Eric Good and his wife Elena.
hello again, Elena and Eric.
Hello, how are you?
Are your good luck charms ages 1, 2, and 3 with you again tonight?
Oh, yes, and they're turning into regular little hams, aren't they?
Oh. Well, other than your winnings now totaling around 22,000, I believe, what's the good word at the goods this week? Any more excitement?
Well, lots of mail and telephone calls.
Uh-huh.
And we even had a wedding in the family.
A wedding?
Yes. My brother married Eric's sister.
I see. You what?
My brother married Eric's sister.
Oh, I see. Well, now, does that make Eric your brother-in-law?
No, not quite. That makes that my sister-in-law is again my sister-in-law, and Eric's brother-in-law is again his brother-in-law.
Yes, yes. Well, I hope all those people are enjoying their honeymoon.
Well, Mr. Bergen, they gave that up to come and root for us tonight. They're out in the audience.
Oh, they are. Well.
And next to the newlyweds is my sister Jackie.
Oh, I see. Well, with all those in-laws and babysitters and grandma and the kids ready to root for you, let's do it then. What are we waiting for? Bob Lamont, who are tonight's winners to challenge the goods?
Well, Edgar, to compete with the goods is tonight's winning couple with $200, Bert and Marjorie Wetzel. The subject for tonight's trust fund question is United States government. Edgar, here is that question.
United States government, yes. Well, gentlemen, you've heard the category. There's a lot of money at stake. Now, do you trust yourself or do you trust your wife? I hope you make the right choice. In just a few seconds, our couples will match wits in the big trust fund question. And now, Eric Good, do you trust yourself or do you trust your wife?
I'll trust my wife on this one, Mr. Bergen.
You have her complete disapproval. And Bert Wetzel, do you trust yourself or do you trust your wife?
I'll trust my wife.
Well, very well. Then it's Mrs. Wetzel and Mrs. Good. Will you go to the board, please? You will have 20 seconds to answer this question. It's worth $100 a week for a year. And the winner can come back and perhaps make enough to retire for life. This may be the most important answer you will ever have to give. You have 20 seconds, so think clearly and write fast. Get your pen ready. Here is the question. On the board is a list of 10 subjects covered in the amendments to the Constitution of the United States. When I say go, write down the number of the amendment after each subject. In other words, we want the number of each constitutional amendment. Are you ready? Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the correct answers. Income tax, 16. Prohibition, 18. Freedom of speech, 1. Slavery abolished, 13. Women's suffrage, 19. Election of senators, 17. Prohibition repealed, 21. Self-incrimination, 5. Re-electing president, 22. And trial by jury, 7. Mrs. Wetzel marked her 9th answer after the bell had rung, therefore it does not count. The Wetzels have 8 correct. And the Goods have 9 correct. And the Goods are our trust fund winners with $100 a week every week for a 5th year.
You know something? I just had my citizenship exam about 4 months ago.
Oh, I see. Well, I think that's amazing.
was,
I'm proud of both of you girls.
They're
I think
strict. They're strict.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, now, isn't that grand? You might drop back next week and try
you
for...
just might.
Yes, all right. Let's see, what will it be? The
I don't know.
6th, 7th year?
No.
6 coming up.
6 coming up next week. Well, then you'll be back next week to try for $100 a week for the 6th year, won't you?
Yes, we
Wonderful.
will.
Congratulations again. Well, that was fun tonight. I hope you'll join us here again next week. Good night and live modern.
Next week, Do You Trust Your Wife will be brought to you by the Frigidaire Division of General Motors and the Frigidaire dealers in your community. And now it's time to say goodnight to Charlie McCarthy.
Good night.
Mortimer Snurd.
Me too.
And Edgar Bergen. See you next week, folks.